I thought my wife, Lisa, would be happy when I told her I didn't have to work all week. I'm a heavy equipment mechanic, and unfortunately, I often have to work long hours. Lisa had planned a 3-day vacation with her sisters at Lake Wenonah. They usually rent cabins and spend the time swimming, hiking, and enjoying the campfire. I had already told her that I wouldn't be able to make it, and she seemed to understand. It was the middle of the week, and I make good money, especially with overtime. I often miss these trips, so I was really excited when I finally got time off. "Hi, honey. Good news? I'll be able to go with you guys this time." I said, "That's great, Bob. I'm sure the kids will appreciate it, and you'll have some fun, too." Lisa replied, "If it's okay with you, I'm going to bring the dirt bike along. There are some trails up there I'd like to try. I'll only take it if you're okay with it. I don't want to cause any problems." "That's fine. There's a lot of mountain at Lake Wenonah, and you should be able to get in some good rides." "Enjoy yourself," she said. Lisa was preparing dinner while I got the dirt bike ready. It wasn't really an off-road bike. It was a 2-stroke that was street legal but could be used off-road if you were careful. I didn't have many opportunities to use it at home. Dinner was ready by the time I finished getting the bike ready. Lisa and I had been married for 12 years. We had 3 children: Tammy, 11, Josh, 8, and Terry, 7. We lived in a nice little house with a big mortgage, and things were going great for the Connor family. After dinner, the kids settled in to watch TV, and I took a shower. Lisa was finishing something on the computer when I went in to get my trail maps. I noticed she quickly deleted something and logged off when I walked in. I acted like I didn't see it while I rummaged through the closet. She smiled and left the room, so I quietly hit the shutdown button after making sure she was downstairs. I opened her email. There was nothing in the inbox, and if there had been, I'm sure she would have deleted it. I went to the deleted emails, just in case. Lisa was always cautious with her emails. She usually double-deleted everything. There was never any record of her incoming or outgoing mail. But this time, she had been in a hurry and hadn't deleted the deleted file. There it was. Change in plans. Bob will be coming up with the family. You can still come, but I'll have Karen put you in the last cabin. We should be able to have some time together, because he'll be riding his motorcycle. See ya. LLC. The message was sent to D. Thompson at Zebra. This wasn't good. Who the hell was D. Thompson? And why was he coming to our family gathering? What did Lisa's sister Karen have to do with setting this up? Lisa was washing clothes for the kids, so I pulled out her high school yearbook. It didn't take me long to find Don Thompson. There was even a picture of Lisa and Don together at prom. I'm not a very clever or suspicious guy, but I guess I should have been. I always assumed our marriage was fine. I met Lisa about 2 years after she graduated from high school. I'm 3 years older than her and had a good job. After dating for 6 months, I asked her to marry me, and she said yes. Now, I was wondering why. If she had been with this guy in high school, she was still seeing him. Why did she marry me? I make a good living, but I'm not very ambitious. I work hard for my family, but I always put them first. I didn't care about myself. Now, though, I wasn't sure. I never liked kids, but I loved mine. I'd do anything for them, because they were mine. I was a very protective father. This weekend was going to be interesting. The kids wasted no time getting down to the lake. I unloaded everything, including the motorbike. Lisa's sister Kathy was there with her 4 kids, and their youngest sister, Cora, was divorced and had 3 little ones. Kathy's husband, George, didn't make it. I was going to be the odd man out for the weekend, except for the extra guy in the last cabin. After getting settled in, I noticed a dark green Durango parked by the last cabin. We had a quick lunch, and I announced I was going for a ride. I grabbed the bike and the video camera before heading out. The bike was noisy, and I was sure Lisa was counting on that, so she could be sure I didn't sneak back. I rode about 4 miles, let the bike idle for a while, then shut it down. It only took about 10 minutes to walk back to the campgrounds. The 3 sisters were sitting around the picnic table chatting, while the kids were scattered all over. At that point, a tall, good-looking guy, who I assumed drove the Dodge Durango, walked over to the table. All the girls greeted him warmly. After about 10 minutes, he got up and walked off. He went around the cabins and toward the changing rooms. I started to make my way over when I saw Lisa leaving the table and coming my way. Dawn entered the back way of the lady's side, so no one would notice, and Lisa followed. A little while later, I quietly entered the other side and turned on the video camera. I didn't even take the lens cap off because there was nothing to see. I made my way over to the adjoining wall and could hear them talking. "I'm really sorry, Dawn. I had no idea Bob would be coming today. I'll try to make it up to you. He'll probably be busy with his motorcycle most of the time, so we just need to watch out for the kids." "It's okay, Lisa. I understand. I'm a little disappointed, but I'm sure it will be fine. They're going to have a sing-along tonight by the cabins. I'll sneak down to the lake, and we can swim together like old times. Kathy will make sure Bob stays busy." "I don't know if I can wait that long," Lisa said. I assumed my wife, Lisa, would be thrilled when I told her I didn't have to work all week. Being a heavy equipment mechanic often meant grueling hours, including weekends. Plans with family or friends usually had to take a back seat to my demanding schedule. It was a lifestyle I had grown used to, but I always felt guilty missing out on moments with Lisa and our kids. Lisa had planned a 3-day trip to Lake Winona with her sisters. The annual tradition usually meant renting cozy lakeside cabins and enjoying long days of swimming, hiking, and evenings around a roaring campfire. When she'd first brought it up, I had regretfully told her I couldn't join them. "Don't worry about it, Bob," Lisa had reassured me. "We'll miss you, but I understand. Besides, these overtime hours are good for us. We can use the extra money." Her tone was even, almost indifferent, and at the time, I hadn't thought much of it. So when my unexpected week off came through, I couldn't wait to share the news. "Hey, Lisa," I called out with a grin as I walked into the kitchen, where she was chopping vegetables for dinner. She glanced up briefly, her expression neutral. "Guess what? I got the whole week off." She froze mid-chop, her knife hovering over the cutting board. "Oh, that's unexpected," she said, her lips curving into a faint smile. "That's great news, Bob. I was thinking," I continued, "I can come with you and the kids to Lake Winona. It's been years since we've gone on a family trip together." Lisa's smile widened slightly, but something in her eyes flickered. Was it hesitation? "Oh, of course. The kids will love having you there. It'll be fun." Her words sounded right, but the tone felt off. Was I imagining it? "And hey," I added, trying to match her excitement, "I was thinking of bringing my dirt bike along. There are some trails near the lake I've been dying to try out. It'll be a blast." "Sure," Lisa said quickly, returning her focus to the vegetables. Her hands moved mechanically, as though she was eager to end the conversation. "Lake Winona has lots of trails. You'll have a great time riding." Her voice was calm, even encouraging, but something about her demeanor unsettled me. She didn't meet my eyes as she spoke, and her smile seemed more like a mask than genuine happiness. Trying to shake off the unease, I decided to focus on prepping my dirt bike. It wasn't a true off-road machine, but it was street-legal and capable of handling some moderate trails if I was careful. I spent the next hour inspecting the tires, tuning the engine, and making sure everything was in top shape. The work helped clear my mind. By the time I came back inside, supper was ready. The smell of roasted chicken and seasoned vegetables filled the air, a welcome comfort after a day of small surprises. We gathered around the table, our family of 5, just as it had always been. Tammy, our eldest at 11, was already talking excitedly about swimming at the lake. Josh, 8, and Terry, 7, were debating who could build the best sandcastle. I glanced at Lisa, hoping to catch some of her usual warmth, but she seemed distracted, her gaze distant even as she nodded along to the kids' chatter. After dinner, while Lisa cleared the table, I headed upstairs for a quick shower. As the water washed over me, I replayed her reaction in my mind. Maybe I just caught her off guard. She had planned this trip with her sisters, after all. Adding me into the mix probably meant changing some arrangements. Feeling slightly reassured, I got dressed and went to the room Lisa used as her home office. She was sitting at the desk, her face lit by the glow of the computer screen. As I walked in, she startled, her hand quickly clicking to close whatever window was open before she turned to face me. "Oh, hey," she said, her tone overly casual. I was just checking the weather forecast for the trip. I nodded, pretending not to notice her unease. "That's good. Hopefully, it'll stay clear for those trails." "Yeah, let's hope so," she replied with a tight smile before standing up and brushing past me. "I'll finish packing the kids' bags." Once she was gone, I found myself standing in the now empty room, a strange sense of curiosity gnawing at me. Lisa was usually meticulous about her online activity. She never left tabs open or emails unchecked. But tonight, her hurried actions felt suspicious. Unable to resist, I sat at the desk and opened the laptop. Her email account was still logged in. For a moment, I hesitated. Was this an invasion of privacy? But then I remembered the odd way she'd acted and how quickly she closed the screen when I walked in. The deleted items folder caught my eye. Lisa never left anything there. She always emptied it out. But tonight she hadn't. I clicked on it, my heart pounding in my chest. The first email was from someone named D. Thompson. The subject line was vague, but as I opened the message, the words leaped off the screen. "Change in plans. Bob will be coming up with the family. You can still come, but Kara will put you in the last cabin. We should have time together because he'll be busy riding his motorcycle. See you soon, LLC." My hands trembled as I reread the email, my mind racing. D. Thompson? LLC? Who the hell was this person? And why was Lisa's sister, Karen, involved in this? I sat there, frozen, until the pieces started to click together. Lisa's high school yearbook was on the nearby shelf. My hands moved on autopilot as I pulled it down, flipping through the pages. And there he was, Don Thompson. His picture was right there, smiling broadly alongside Lisa at their senior prom. I felt like the ground had shifted beneath me. Anger, confusion, and betrayal surged through me all at once. How long had this been going on? Was this the first time, or had there been others? The cheerful sounds of my kids laughing downstairs drifted up to the room, and I clenched my fists. This wasn't just about me. It was about our family. Everything I thought I was working for, everything I believed we had, suddenly felt like a lie. After spending the day working on a second shaker, I finally got it running by 7 p.m. Everyone else had left hours earlier, but John Foreman, my supervisor, had stayed behind. As he offered me a ride home, he surprised me by asking if I wanted a full-time job as an equipment repairman. The offer came out of nowhere, but I accepted immediately. It felt like a step forward in stabilizing my life. About a month later, I came home from work to find a budget rental car parked in my driveway. Sitting on the front porch was George Mitchell, Kathy's husband. He looked tired, offering me a weak half-smile as I walked up. I wasn't exactly thrilled to see him, but I kept my tone polite. "How long have you been waiting, George?" "About 2 hours," he replied. "I could use a cold beer if you've got one." I grabbed 2 Fosters from the fridge and handed him one. We sat at opposite ends of the kitchen table, the tension palpable. "So, what brings you all the way out here?" "Flying nearly 3,000 miles must mean this is important," I said, trying to sound casual. George leaned back in his chair, taking a long sip of beer before answering. "Lisa asked me to come. Her parents paid for the tickets. She wanted me to explain some things to you." "All right, George," I said, my patience thinning. "What's so urgent that it couldn't be handled over the phone?" George hesitated, fiddling with the beer bottle. "Bob, not many people know this, but Kathy and I had a situation in our marriage that might help you understand Lisa's choices. Does this have anything to do with Richard Witt?" I asked, cutting to the chase. George looked surprised but nodded. Yes, it seems you know more than I thought. Kathy and I were married for 2 years, trying to start a family, but nothing happened. After a lot of tests, we found out the problem was with me. I was infertile. Kathy didn't want to adopt, and we couldn't afford artificial procedures. It took us a long time to come to terms with it, but eventually we agreed on something unconventional. I leaned back, unsure of where this was going, but curious enough to let him continue. We decided to ask Richard to help. Kathy had dated him before we met, and I trusted him. He agreed to help us, but only under certain conditions. Conditions? I asked, raising an eyebrow. George nodded again, his voice lowering. Richard agreed to help Kathy conceive, but he wanted more than that. He insisted on seeing her once a month and spending 1 weekend a year with her. Those were his terms, until he found a wife of his own. I sat there, stunned. George took another sip of beer, avoiding my eyes. All 4 of our kids are Richard's, he admitted. About 3 years ago, I was even the best man at his wedding. He hasn't seen Kathy since. I let out a slow breath, trying to process this. And how does this relate to Lisa and me? It's similar but different, George said. Lisa and Don Thompson were sweethearts since junior high. They had their lives planned out until Don had a water skiing accident. It left him unable to father children. Don convinced Lisa to marry someone else so she could have the family she always dreamed of. He even helped her find a husband, someone outside Pottsville. I stared at him, trying to keep my composure. And that's how she ended up with me? George nodded. Lisa picked you. She pursued you, made you think it was your idea. She gave you a good home, a happy marriage, and 3 beautiful kids. But she never completely let go of Don. Over the years, though, she grew closer to you and started seeing less of him. She even tried to set him up with other women, but Don was still in love with her. George slid an envelope across the table. Inside was a letter from a lab claiming I was the biological father of our children. I stared at it, feeling a mix of anger and confusion. Is that it, George? Well, he said, shifting in his seat, Lisa broke off contact with Don after you left. She hoped it would convince you to come home. I didn't respond. Instead, I grabbed us 2 more beers and sat in silence, staring at the letter. Something about George's story didn't add up, but I wasn't ready to confront him. When I finally walked him to his car, I thanked him for coming and told him to give Lisa and the kids my best. He looked disappointed, clearly hoping for more of a reaction. The next day, I called my lawyer, Seymour, to check on the DNA test results. Seymour told me he hadn't received anything from Lisa, despite asking her 3 times. I told him about the letter George gave me. It's from some lab in Pottsville, I said. I've never heard of them, Seymour replied. And I still have your DNA results here in the office. I didn't release them to anyone. I asked Seymour to look into the lab and also check out Don Thompson. A week later, he called back with answers. The lab was a fake, recently shut down by the state. As for Don, he was described as a nice but dim-witted guy who struggled to hold a job. He had recently joined the army and was being deployed to Bosnia. That evening, Lisa showed up unannounced with the kids. They ran to me, full of excitement. Lisa explained she had rented a place nearby and would be working evenings at a restaurant. She asked if I could watch the kids while she worked. I agreed, but I couldn't shake the doubts lingering in my mind. A few days later, I swabbed the kids for a DNA test and sent it to Seymour. When the results came back, they confirmed none of the kids were mine. It was a final blow. The divorce was finalized 2 weeks later. I agreed to send support for the children as long as there were no further issues. As I started a new job in Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, I reflected on everything that had happened. The betrayal still stung, but I knew I had to move forward. It was bitterly cold up there, but at least the knife in my back was finally beginning to heal.